Hi there guys, so in this video we're going to be taking a look at the WordPress Options API. That is what is responsible for getting and saving the data in the WordPress Options table. It is really useful when you're making a plugin or a theme and you want to save some data in the WordPress database. And the usual way is to save in the WordPress Options table, and this is how you do it. So let's get into it. So the first things first, I have set up a demo plugin by the name demo plugin itself. And now this is what we're going to use to add our code in it and then display the code at the front end. So, okay, let's get into it. Here's the plugin code. It is a really bare metal plugin file. And then let's add an action hook to hook into WordPress. Okay, so I'm gonna use WP head action because to output the data in the front end. Normally what you have here is a plugins loaded hook, and then you load your plugin into that, but then we're not gonna get into that, and we're just gonna output some data at the front end for debugging purposes. So let's do that. Let me just format the document to remove these warnings. Okay. So the first option we're going to look at is get option. Let me just create a variable. We'll just call it get option demo. Let's do that, and then we'll call it get option. So if you know already how functions work, I assume that you are, because that will be required here. Now we'll have to pass a parameter, which will be a string in case of this get option function. And then what this takes is a option saved already in the database, and then it retrieves the data of it. So how do we know what options are saved in the WordPress options table already? Let's go to the settings page. These are all the options that are already saved in the WordPress options tables. You can see options general.php. So writing, reading, discussion, media, permalinks, etc. All these. You can also look at each of these options here at this WordPress developer resources. These are really handy when you're looking for some of these option keys, and then what they do and what are their data types basically. I'll just link this in the video description so that you can look back. Okay, so let's say we want to fetch the blog name, aka the site title. So let's copy this key, which will be this one, site title. Go back to our plugin code, and then let's just save it and var dump it. So var dump is another function that is used to output some data at the front end. We mostly use for debugging only. You never want to use this in the production site. Okay, so let's do it option demo, and then again let's format document. Okay. Now if you were to go to our front end, you'll see that it is being displayed as a string, and what that holds. So this string is what the type of the variable or the data, and this is the actual data in the double quotes. Okay, so that was just one example. Imagine if you don't have a data, and then if you're calling a key that isn't set in the database yet, what that will return is false, I assume. Let's say demo foo, and then since this isn't already in the database, this will return false. As you can see, it's a boolean and false. Now what if you want to by default provide a value to it? So if this isn't set, you want the retrieve data to be this. We can say anything here, such as, let's say hello. Now if this option key isn't set in the table, what this will return is this. This is a fallback default value. Now if we were to refresh, you can see it is hello in a string. So that was one example of the get option function of the options table. And there's another equivalent of it, that is get site option, which you'll call like this, get site option, assuming the same way. This is responsible for fetching the network options. I'm not going to show this, but this is just the same, and just for fetching the network option if you're using a WordPress multi-site. So let's look at another function of this, that is the update option. Okay, so let's say updated option, create a variable, and let's call update option function here. And it takes the same parameters, a key, and then the value that you want to update to that option. So let's say you'll use the same blog name, which is responsible for holding the site title, and then we'll update something. Let me just comment it out for now, and then we go back to our settings page, and let's take a look here. So currently you can see here it says WP there, and now you'll change it via the code. So let's do that. We will like to call it hello world, because in a tutorial if you aren't using hello world, no one aren't using. Okay, anyways, let's disable this var down because it's not needed here. We'll already get the output here. Let's refresh this. Okay, for some reason this didn't work. Okay, so now if you were to update blog name to this, we'd also need to change the add action hook, which is responsible for loading where the update option will be called, because you can't call update option in WP head and expect it to update a core setting. So what we'll need is plugins loaded hook, and when we'll call it there, it will automatically update this. Let's assume we want to change something else. Say hello new, and then when we save it again, we refresh it, it will say that. Yeah. This is just an example. You can use any other option you have set already in the database and then update using that. Most likely that will work from someplace else, but for these core options, you would need to be sure that they are being loaded someplace where the update option will work at the priority levels. Okay, so enough about getting and updating options. Now to the most crucial part of it, that is the add option, which is how you add an option to the WordPress options table. So in the same way like we did this, we won't need to use any variables here. Let's just get rid of these errors. And basically my format is telling us something is wrong in the standards again. Okay, so the add option function, which is responsible for adding an option in the WordPress options table. So as we have seen already, the first parameter is always the option key, which we'll be using to store that value in the database. So the first option key, for this example, let's use something called test option. Let's call it that, and then will be the second parameter will be the option that we want to save. It can be any data type, such as string, boolean, array, or anything. For in this case, let's save a string. Let's call it saved data, and then do this. Now to fetch the same, let's create a variable test option, let's call that, and then use the same function which we have seen earlier and get option, and then use the same key test option. And then if you want to set a default value, do that, or you can use the same. Let's say an empty string if anything isn't set, and then we'll var dump it at the front end. Test option. Now let's change it back to WP head to output it at the front end. Let's hope this works. And then we'll go back to here. You can see save data. use that option was called, and then the data option was saved in the database. If you want to see how this looks in the actual tables, I can show you. Let me just open my database. So I use this Table Plus app, and I have my DB here. Let's get into it. Yeah. So in this WP options table, you'll see if you were to search for it, test option. I assume this will be at the very end bottom. Yeah. Okay, save the data. You can see here, test option, save data. Anything you save, it will be shown in this options table, WP underscore options. In your case, it could be something else if you have some other prefix setting or WP config for the database tables, but that will be it. So all these functions such as get option, add option, and date option have the alternatives such as get site option, update site option, and add site option for the network sites. So the multi-site network, if you have one, you'll use those functions to save in the network options table. So there's that, and then you also have the last option, which is to delete this. So delete option, and then you use the same key. Let's comment this bottom, and then format the document first city. Alright, now if we were to go back to our front end and we refresh in the database, you'll see that the option is now gone. That is because we use the delete option function, and that what does is deletes it. So that this also has a alternative such as okay, so this here it is, delete site option. You can see in this docs reference that all the functions and how they are used. Most likely all these have their specific docs, but if you want to quickly go over them, you can just try these. It's the best way to experience how they work and then what you can do with them. So in some tools where you are maybe displaying something and then you don't want the users to fetch the data over and over again, you want to save that in the database. That's how you use these functions and then store the data in the database. So I will not get into that into showing how the dynamic ways of using these are, but like in another video I'll most likely be showing you that. So hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Thank you.